What's up everybody, it's Drew Wilkins with Swine Bovine Barbecue, and in this video we're making some sweet heat, direct heat baby back ribs. Let's get going. We have ourselves a great looking rack of all natural prairie fresh baby back ribs. There is not much we're gonna have to do from a trimming perspective on these. Sometimes on the small end there'll be a little bit of a bone sticking out. We don't have that issue on these. Over on this side, there's a tiny little bit of meat. We're just gonna trim that up a little bit so that doesn't burn up. But other than that, this is a great looking rack. No more trimming. I leave the membrane on, whether it's an offset or direct heat. I think it adds a nice little crispy texture to it. So we're not peeling off the membrane. These are ready to season. But we need to make our dry rub first, so let's do that. This is gonna be a pretty simple dry rub with a focus on sweet and heat. Starting off with some 16 mesh black pepper, diamond crystal kosher salt, paprika, cayenne pepper, and brown sugar. Get this all shaken up, mixed together, and our dry rub's ready. Now it's time to season our ribs. And when you're using a homemade rub like we just made and you've got coarse black pepper and kosher salt, they tend to sink to the bottom because they're heavier than the paprika, cayenne, and sugar that we put in. So when I season them, I use the nozzle on the top side like this. I saw it on a YouTube video, I don't remember where, but I tried it and it really helps, because if it's on the bottom and the coarse black pepper and kosher salt sink, that's what's gonna come out first and you're gonna end up with a lot of powder on the end. So keep them up like this and then we'll season away. Just gonna go on with a nice, healthy coating all the way across our ribs. Flip them over, do the exact same thing on the other side. Our ribs are nicely seasoned. Let's go fire up the pit. Our pit is cruising along at just over 300 degrees, so it's time to get these baby backs on. I typically cook vertical on my direct heat cooker because I found I can fit 4 racks, where if I go horizontal, I can only fit 3. That's why I have them lined up this way. If you want to go horizontal, feel free to do that. So now we're going to let these cruise for the next hour or so. Let that bottom side membrane get nice and crispy. So we're going to shut it down, let them cook. We're an hour into our cook and it's time to flip these ribs over. Got a lot of fat dripping on the coals. That's where this smoke is coming from. Smells fantastic, providing a ton of flavor. Top side's already looking solid. See how this bottom side is. That's got some fantastic color. Very, very happy with how that looks. So now we're gonna put these meat side down, let them cook, probably for another 45 minutes to an hour. We'll check them, see how the color's looking. But for now, we're gonna close this down, let them cook, and go make a mop sauce. For our mop sauce, we're gonna start off with half a stick of unsalted butter. Butter has melted down, so we're gonna go in with half an onion, 3 serranos, and 3 cloves of crushed garlic. Gonna get these all mixed in, let them cook in the butter for around 5 minutes. Our onions, peppers, and garlic have reduced nicely, so now we're gonna go in with some white vinegar, some apple cider vinegar, some ketchup, healthy amount of Worcestershire, some ground mustard, chili powder, a little paprika, a good amount of crushed red pepper, cayenne pepper, a little bit of celery seed, some hot honey, a healthy amount of brown sugar, some habanero hot sauce, and some healthy pinches of kosher salts. Mix everything up, give it a taste to make sure it is sweet enough and hot enough, and if it is, then our mop sauce is done. 45 minutes after we flipped our ribs over, it's time to mop them. So simply enough, we're gonna dip our little mop into our mop sauce and just come over the top of these ribs. They're looking fantastic, and this mop sauce is gonna make them look even better. And the smell as it drips down on the coals is just phenomenal. So we're gonna shut the pit down. We'll come back and do it every 5 minutes. And after 3 times of doing it, we'll flip the ribs to the meat side. 15 minutes and a couple of mops later, these ribs are ready to flip. See how they're looking. My goodness. These look amazing. And they smell even better than they look, if you can imagine that. So now, I'm just gonna hit these with our mop sauce. Can't beat direct heat. We're gonna shut it down, Mop these a couple of times, check for tenderness, and pull them when they're done. 25 minutes after we flipped our ribs, and they are done. Right around in this spot, we're temping around 203. To finish these off, I'm gonna hit them with a little more mop sauce. Pull them, we'll wrap them in a little aluminum foil, let them rest, then we'll eat. We've got the ribs back inside. We want to do one more thing. We want to hit each side with a little bit more of our mop sauce. So we're going to come over the back, just put a little on, flip them over, do the same to the top. Now we're going to lightly tint this. We don't want it to keep cooking. We don't want to fully wrap them. We're going to keep them like this till it comes down to 140 degrees. Then it'll be time to slice and eat them. But first, let's turn our mop sauce into a barbecue sauce. It's very easy to turn our mop sauce into a barbecue sauce. All you got to do, take your mop sauce, pour it into your blender. And this mop sauce was basically a very high vinegar version of the barbecue sauce that I typically make. And we wanted a lot of vinegar in there because it really goes well with direct heat barbecue. It cuts through the fattiness of the pork. And of course, we're not using a super fatty cut. We're using baby backs instead of spare ribs. But the vinegar goes great with it. And it also helps you mop it and cut down on the sugar content because we use ketchup, a lot of brown sugar, a decent amount of honey, 3 things that can burn very, very easily. And that's why we didn't mop it a ton of times. We mopped it twice on the back, and we mopped it 3 times on the top, not including when we mopped it in the wrap. So keep that in mind when you're doing something that's very sweet, which was our goal here with sweet heat, is you don't want to over mop it when it's on the heat source because that sugar can burn. But now all we got to do, put our top on the blender, turn it on, blend it up. Now pour it in our squeeze bottle. Get the lid on. If it's still hot like this is, make sure and don't fully seal that lid. Otherwise your ceiling will have barbecue sauce on it. Don't ask me how I know. But now we're gonna try it. Cheers. Man, that is good. Tastes exactly like the mop sauce, but in a much thicker form, servable form. It's got the vinegar. You can taste a little bit of that butter in there, the onions, the serranos, the sugar. This is delicious. It is sweet and it's got heat, so it's exactly what we were going for. And it's gonna go really, really well with the ribs. Our ribs have come down to 140, so let's unwrap them. They weren't really wrapped, they were just lightly tinted. These look really, really good. And you can see that the mop sauce was tackier. Again, it had ketchup and other things in it. By the way it stuck onto the ribs, it almost looks like they were sauced. These look really, really good. All right, let's slice into these. Now, I love baby backs, but kind of my arch nemesis when it comes to slicing things. There's just little bones everywhere that I hit, so we'll see how we do. Not too bad. We lost a little bit of meat right here when I caught a bone. An easy way to do it too is just to hold them up on their sides and saw down if you have a lot of issues with it. Overall, pretty happy with how that cut went. Ribs are looking fantastic. They smell even better. Let's give them a try. The time has come. These baby backs look delicious, smell even better. They've got a ton of moisture. Check this out. And so the time has come. I'm ready to dig in. Going with a nice middle bone. Cheers. Man, these are ridiculously good. They remind me of some of the first ribs I made because a lot of people I know the first ribs they make are a 3-2-1 style rib that have a ton of brown sugar and honey and butter mixed in with them. Well, these have that, but they have the direct heat flavor and it just takes them next level. Combine that with all the crushed red pepper, the hot sauce, the cayenne that we added in it. These are flavor bombs and they're really, really good. These ribs are perfectly tender. You can see very nice clean bone from where I've been gnawing on it here. Membrane side delicious. Leave the membrane on if you cook direct heat. It adds a nice little gnaw factor. Of course, I like wingtips too. If you don't like wingtips, maybe get rid of it. Personal preference, I love it. It's just got that phenomenal sweet heat flavor. Let's try this last little bit with some of the sauce we made. Almost looks like a buffalo wing sauce in color. That works really well as a barbecue sauce because like I said, with the addition of just more vinegar, it's very, very close to the barbecue sauce that I make. So don't skimp out on that. If you're making this mop sauce, turn it into a barbecue sauce. That's why we made so much of it. Otherwise, you could cut that recipe by, I don't know, a quarter and have more than enough probably still to mop your ribs. But I'm gonna go for one of these little end pieces right here that's just full of bark and flavor. Nothing's burnt, nothing's crispy, perfectly tender bite through, but just full of flavor. And that heat's starting to come through a decent amount too, which I love. And I think these are perfectly balanced too. It's not over the top sweetness. There is a lot of sugar and honey in them, but it doesn't overpower the rib. The same thing with the heat. There's a decent or a lot of cayenne, crushed red pepper, and hot sauce in them, but they really, really marry well together and neither one overpowers the other. And then you combine that direct heat flavor with it, and that's a trifecta I'll bet on all day at the horse track. Really, really good. But thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos like this, please hit that subscribe button. If you have any suggestions on what you want to see me cook next, leave it in the comment section down below. As always, thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye.